We want to tell a story throughout the year that resonates with our target audience. Unless we plan how that story is going to be told, we have a big chance of missing the communication goal.
Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hausman, and joining me today, he's a brand new rock star. He's an entrepreneur, a business leader, a founder, and a CEO of Kraus Marketing. He's the author of Sharkbite Method, the Sharkbite Method. Nick Kraus, thanks for joining me, man.
Of course, Kirby. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I want to dive into the book. I always love talking to other authors, and you wrote the Sharkbite Method. So can you talk a little bit about what you mean by that and why you wrote it?
Yeah, so we decided to write the Sharkbite Method because we walk into organizations and corporations all the time that really just lack a good understanding of how to create a digital marketing plan and strategy that's easily executed and efficiently executed. So we use it as an education piece, of course, as a marketing tool, but it's been getting a lot of great traction. One of the cool things about the Sharkbite Method is how to write a content calendar. I really believe if you understand how to put together a content calendar for the year, then you can create a very efficient process for your marketing organization. And that content's not just copy, it's not just imagery, video, it's short form, it's long form, it's graphics, it's landing pages, it also deals with your campaign. So yeah, it's that's where it started. And then the Sharkbite Method, the reason we call it that is, sharks evolved over time to be, apex predators. And we believe that this digital marketing method that we have created over time is an apex marketing method.
So, yeah, I totally see where the content calendar is so valuable, but gosh, there's so few organizations that actually follow through with it.
That's correct. We walk into very large corporations, and for some of them, it's usually the larger the corporation, the less they have is a proactive content calendar and a proactive marketing approach. It's funny, CMOs, highly educated, highly paid, not putting together a content calendar that could efficiently run their marketing departments. And I come from an era that just started in early 2000s when digital marketing just started, but print publications are still around. And they knew exactly what they wanted as far as their publication was going to be. They had a content calendar for a year out. So as an advertiser, I knew what month I wanted to be in their magazines, or what month I would try to get PR for my clients in their magazines. And that was kind of how we backed into this content calendar for marketing and for advertising. And from there, it always could be movable and flexible. But if you have that, you have something to work towards, you have something to be proactive about. And when you have downtime, it's very efficient. When you plan it, you don't have to think every day, what am I going to do today? When it's pre-planned, you wake up and you execute.
That's really good, Nick. And it's funny. It reminds me, I had somebody on here one time that said you need to treat your marketing like a magazine. And I haven't heard anything like that since, but you got my wheels turning on that, because it's like, oh, okay, yeah. Because it does make you think, hey, it's planning, but it's also more, more storytelling than it is just ads. And so I think that's a great idea. So,
it is storytelling. We have cyclical businesses that are cyclical in nature. We want to tell a story throughout the year that resonates with our target audience. Unless we plan how that story is going to be told, we have a big chance of missing the communication goal.
That's super good. Super good. So what are some common mistakes you see organizations making when they are telling their story?
Well, the biggest thing I see is the reactiveness, especially, the larger the organizations, and that really actually starts at mid-sized organizations. You have 25 salespeople and up, so you're a relatively small company. You have an organization that requires, as a marketing department, a lot of inbound leads and a lot of work to be done. That marketing department usually just becomes reactive to the sales team. And that it has a lot to do with the company culture, because the company says salespeople come first, revenue comes first, and the marketing team just ends up reacting to it. And that's one of the biggest problems that I see happening, is not clearly laying out and defining rules of how work can be requested, timelines for requested work, and how you go about your own marketing story. And for that reason, that reactiveness causes a confusion. It may not come out as clear as you want, because this month you're doing this, or week or daily you're switching what you're focusing on, and how can that come out as concise as you would want it to be.
That's a great point. It becomes on-demand marketing, right? Yeah. So, well, let's talk about ROI, because obviously we all want ROI, but how do you measure it? How do you measure your ROI on marketing and advertising?
Yeah, well, that just really depends on the organization. For me, ROI on the valuation of your organization, so the valuation, what your company is worth, right? There is ROI in the valuation of your company alone if you have a great digital marketing presence compared to no marketing presence. So you're telling me you spend $250,000 a year over 10 years, so $2.5 million. And now you're probably a $20 million company, right? At least, at the end of the day, are you worth more than $2.5 million more because you have this amazing decade of digital marketing presence? And by the way, revenues that are showcased along with it. For valuation alone, I believe ROI is there. But people measure ROI all different ways, and most of them measure it in leads that could generate revenue. And for that, we talk people about that customer journey and how first we have to build awareness and then create engagement, and of course, and create those leads. And then we can nurture those leads and nurture that customer experience to create cross sells as well. You measure those through analytics, you measure those through the CRM. A lot of times it becomes messy. And, for us as digital marketers, we've kind of walked ourselves into this corner of saying we can measure ROI, we can measure ROI, we can measure ROI. We're better than traditional marketing. We can measure it. And really, we can definitely measure it. But what people aren't taking into account is referrals that come through are increased with great digital presence, right? I refer you, Kirby, to my friend. You go on their website and it sucks. You're not going to go and call them, right?
Yeah.
You go on their website and it's excellent. You're going to call them. You do a search and they show up in a search. You're like, okay, this company, this place is legit. That is a conversion that we can't track and that we're not going to get credit for, because we're going to say, well, that is a friend that referred them to me, right? But we know in reality as digital marketers, without that great presence, that referral and that conversion never would have happened. It's really, to me, it's a little bit sloppy, but at the end of the day, we just got to agree to it with our clients. We try to educate them on it as best we can. And, we measure it from there. But if our clients are working with us properly, then it's awareness, it's engagement, and it is actually those conversions. And then it is understanding that the value of a brand with a digital presence is worth a whole lot more than the value of a brand without a digital presence.
I hadn't thought about the idea of the valuation of the organization as a part of that ROI too, which I think that's a unique way of looking at it. I like it. All right, man. Final question for you. You're doing great. I appreciate you being here. What's one piece of advice you hear all the time that you think is actually wrong?
Well, so this is probably more entrepreneurial than marketing, or maybe it's not entrepreneurial. It's just like advice in general is that college is for everyone. I have 3 young kids, and I don't know if college is for everyone. I'm not sure if that's, you need college to be successful. I know so many people that have successful careers without college, that dropped out of college, and I feel like it's a little bit of a racket how much people pay for college. And I think you need to really evaluate, speaking of ROI, what the ROI is of that education to your future earnings, and whether you want to go into debt for that, because most of us aren't lucky enough to be able to pay for it in advance. You're paying with it with future earnings. So is there going to be that ROI and forecasting whether it's worth it or not? That would be my major one.
That's a really good one. That's a good food for thought, Nick. I always say it's interesting that we live in a time where, learning, self-learning has never been more inexpensive, but education has never been more expensive. And so I think that's part of the challenge with measuring that ROI.
And I want to hedge that too, Kirby, with saying that I've never stopped learning. And I do a lot of guest lecturing and speaking, and I tell young students and young entrepreneurs that you should be reading. You should be, consuming audiobooks. You should be watching videos. You should be getting certifications. You should be going to conferences. Always be learning. I don't want to get that, wrong, or make that like you need to learn. And that's how, it's these little nuggets over time that really pile up into what your future success looks like. And I just always look, whenever I go to a conference, 2 or 3 days, one day, a 2-hour seminar, I'm just looking for something that like I could apply. And it doesn't have to be directly applied. It could be applied, in relatively speaking terms. Then it's worth it for me. And almost always, if you just look for just something that you could apply in that little nugget, you'll find it. And then it's worth it. And it really will increase, and improve your trajectory.
I love it. That's great advice. Nick, thank you so much. Where can folks find out more about you?
KrausMarketing.com, and the Sharkbite Method is available on Amazon.
Nick, thanks so much. This was fun. We'll have to do it again sometime, okay?
Thank you, Kirby. Appreciate it.
You bet. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.